the Rangers Journal now.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Journal pre-match show and ahead of our League Cup tie against Hibernian in the quarterfinals of the Scottish League Cup. We go into this after a long week of us mostly sitting and praying that the manager in the dugout today would not, in fact, be the manager in the dugout today, but he is in place. The club have backed him to the hilt, and it looks like we're going to be on this roller coaster for the long haul. I call it a roller coaster. That would imply there are ups as well as downs, but that's not so much the case. But joining me today to chat about the game upcoming is John. How are you getting on today, mate?
Not too bad, thanks. Not too bad. I think that roller coaster is very much the Big Dipper, and we're just on a constant down with it right now.
Yep, absolutely. So I've got our first question there from Glasgow Rangers themselves. What's the lineup? Well, Rangers, you should know. You put out. Lol, I jest. But yeah, we do have the lineup, and we will start with that. So let's bring the lineup up there. So the starting 11 is in goals. Jack Butland, a back, presumably 4 of James Tavernier, Derek Cornelius, John Suter, and I forget Megamus' first name off the top of my head. Midfield of Raskin, Diomande, and Asgard, and then a front three of Moore, Gassama, and Miovski. Pretty standard bench there of Kelly, Aarons, Barron, Chermiti, Bajrami, Ant-Man, Giga, Curtis, and Danilo. So, John, same back four, bar Cornelius, or same 11, I should say, bar Cornelius as the previous game. I kind of thought, my first reaction was I thought Moore might not have started, given he was quite poor in the last game, but he has survived. So, as I say, pretty much the same team as has lost against Hearts. Were you expecting to see more changes, or what am I talking about? Raskin's in the team as well. So two changes. Thank you to Scott there, for whom I saw his comment and went, oh, of course. My brain is so ingrained in wanting Raskin to be in the team that it just washed straight over that. Yes, I agree, Scott. Delighted to see Raskin back in the team. Yeah, John, what's your thoughts on starting 11 there?
I think first things first, I'm surprised Kelly isn't starting, having done the press conference yesterday. I thought that was a surefire sign he'd be starting goals.
That's true. Did he not play he played the previous game?
He played against Alloa as well, yeah. It surprised me or starting. I felt like this was a really good game for Ant-Man. Hibs played a back three, Cadden at wing back, not defensively sound, somebody you can maybe look to use his pace against down that right side. Disappointing if we switch the game on here and Gassam's playing wide right again, because he's just, for me, he's wasted out there. He likes playing left. I thought him and Magoma were starting to show some real signs of getting a partnership together as well, one overlapping, one coming inside. So disappointed really from that point of view. I'm hoping Mikey Moore shows up tonight. Maybe last week's a good lesson for him in terms of the physicality around the league and the teams he's going to play against. Great to see Raskin back. Centre backs, I might be wrong in this, but I'm quite surprised Giga hasn't started, purely from the point of view of his pace and recovery. We've seen Martin Boyle against us numerous times, and he can just break through that line and there's nobody to get back. I wondered if the manager might go with Giga just for that pace to cover in, because I'm kind of struggling to see where any pace in that back line is right now. I know Magoma is fast, but not in the centre of it. So I had no complaints about Suter and Cornelius. That no issues with him starting. So yeah, interesting. It'll be good to see. How Raskin comes into this, how he plays, where his head's at. This is the kind of thing you're hoping that after this last few weeks, this last month or so, he really comes out with the kind of that real grit and determination of, I'm going to prove everybody wrong, I'm going to prove the manager wrong. Why shouldn't have dropped me, he should have had me in there. So yeah.
Yep, absolutely. That would be perfect. Lyndon B has come to my rescue. Jaden Megoma, that is indeed his first name. Thank you, Lyndon. And I'm getting a yellow card from Paul, so apologies there, Paul. But I'd like to say I'm more awake than I appear, but I'm really not. But Dave's bringing up a point here, John. Curtis should be playing ahead of Moore. What's your thoughts on that? A lot of people have talked about the idea that we've brought Moore in, obviously, as a young 18-year-old, when we've got this young lad here who seems ripe to break into the team. What's your kind of thoughts around that one?
Yeah, he should be getting game time. I certainly felt that at last week's game. Kind of spoke to a few people around about me and said, Moore looks like an 18-year-old boy in the game. He's got that kind of youthfulness about him. He's got to learn the game, but we've got our own 18-year-old boy there that we really should be giving more minutes to, whether it be starting or certainly bringing him off the bench and giving him more minutes off the bench at least. So, yeah, can't argue with that. Disappointing to see Curtis not being involved in recent. I feel like he should be getting more game time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy I can make you feel like a hero, Lyndon. Everyone needs to get that feeling once in their life. So that's your one. So there you go. Obviously we've got Cornelius starting his first start after coming into the team. You said you're quite happy with that. I'm too quite happy with that. I'm excited by the idea of Cornelius. I think he does have a lot of things that we were looking for. Obviously, first and foremost, left-sided defender, which we were needing. He'll be able to provide that little bit of backup for Makoma potentially if needed. He's an experienced player, 27, so puts him just a year behind Suter, I think. Obviously, he's an international player with Canada. He will be looking to go to the World Cup. Are you excited by the prospect of him hopefully coming in and providing that little bit more experience, that little bit maybe more steel as well than we've maybe been missing? And as he showed in the international break there, maybe the occasional screaming goal as well.
Yeah, definitely excited to see more of him. I really like the balance now. A left-footed centre half, a proper left back in there, not two right-sided players. I thought last week when he came on, he never had real chance to show. Could have had a goal had it not been for some crazy refereeing decisions. So really looking forward to see what he can do today. Again, talk about Raskin, Cornelius, players with a World Cup to aim for. They've got really big aims ahead of them, so that should hopefully raise their performance for us.
Absolutely. Hope to see that. And what's your thoughts on the potential that he also maybe gives us the opportunity to play back three?
I'm keen on that. I am keen on a back three. Again, I think if you've got Giga there who can play as the kind of central, he's got Suter to go and win headers, he's got Cornelius there to go and win headers, and somebody like Giga covering behind. I think that would work for us. How it goes in front of that, I think he's up for debate. Is it a 5-2? Is it a 4-3 after it? I think there's some conversations in there, but I'd like to see us go with back three at some point.
Yeah, I think, like you say, it offers some interesting combinations and potential for how they set up ahead of that as well. And in particular on the right side, I think it gives you a bit more solidity behind Tavernier to allow us to hopefully, as I say, still take advantage of his attacking abilities despite the perhaps waning defensive ones. Got a question here from Paul. Do you think Tavernier will allow Cornelius to take any set pieces? Contrary to some people's opinions, I don't believe these things are just entirely down to James Tavernier. Everything that happens on the pitch is orchestrated by the manager. So obviously he has the captain, so he can overrule them on occasion. But I'm sure if the manager has set out that Cornelius can take a few free kicks, then that should happen. But then again, that would be requiring the manager to do something smart. So who knows? We shall see. I've got a comment here from John that says Bajrami needs to be starting over Diamande. He's doing nothing in the league. He's only been decent in Europe. What's your thoughts on Bajrami? He's quite clearly a sidelined player. He's only really gotten minutes in that cup game against Salah, but he scored a good goal in that, and he has come on a few times as a sub and sort of shown decent turns. So do you think he's someone that needs more minutes?
Yeah, I would say so. Where those minutes come from, I don't know. I'm a Diamande fan. I know he's not started the season well, but I think you could maybe count on one finger who has started the season well, and that would be Jack Butland. So I would like to see Bajrami getting more minutes. Again, it's the same with guys like Curtis, Bajrami, Antman again. I think these guys have got something to offer us, and we're just not utilising them right, whether it be mid-game from the start. We've kind of stuck with this kind of team pretty much now for the last, 3 games. It's not been too much changes in it, and yet there's not really a lot coming from it. That game against Celtic, nothing. Hearts, obviously, last week was worse than nothing. So I'm not seeing the point in going with the same kind of lineup again and again. I'd like to see more changes in there. And that could be Curtis, Antman, Bajrami. There's a question around a £3.5 million centre half who's not even on the subs bench as well.
Yep.
So we're not really seeing that rotation that I think we would like to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said at the top of the show, I'm surprised Moore didn't kind of rotate. I thought that might have been an obvious one. Does give him the opportunity to make up for his performance in the last game, but you've got to wonder, given especially accounting for things like the atmosphere that's going to be in the stadium today, or lack thereof. You could look at that in 2 different ways, but there's potentially a lot there to be putting on young shoulders to try and fight through all of that, as well as his own performances. But we shall see how he gets on. We've got Scott here who's asking our thoughts on Asgard. He's not really set the heather alight, but I'm really confident he'll become a real asset. Well, I'll get John's thoughts as well. But for myself, I think Asgard is a good player. I sort of looked, as I'm sure most people did, into him once his name kind of got connected to the club, and I think he is a decent player. He obviously showed in the international break he can get goals if the chances are offered up, and he's got the opportunity to get into the box from midfield. That is something that we've been desperate for, in my opinion. I've said it probably hundreds of times at this point. The only player I think we've had that did it really effectively, consistently, was Scott Arfield, and so to have someone that can come in and perform that role, do that kind of attacking mid, if you want to choose the pinnacle, the sort of the Lampard-esque kind of role where you've got someone who can really break out from your midfield and contribute, then that's something I would love to see from him. We seem to have used him a bit in some games to kind of mark players and do more dirty work, so he's not maybe had the chance to shine as much as he could have done. But I think there's more to come from him. I think there's more to come from everyone, because I don't think anyone's at their best under Russell Martin, to be honest. So I think you can apply that rule to everyone, in my opinion. What about yourself, John? What's your thoughts on Asgard?
Yeah, it's probably very, very similar. There's a player in there. I think you can tell in little moments of that. I've not been overly impressed thus far, but I've got a problem with this kind of let's mark Callum McGregor out of a game, whether it was Bajrami last season or Asgard this season. I think you waste players' talents and we don't do what we need to do with that. And last week was just an awful performance. So I think he's one of those list of players, Antman, Kassam, Diamandi, and the likes of, we're not seeing the best of them right now, but there are a long list of players we're not seeing the best of, and I don't think they're being utilised to get the best out of them. Could he push into one of the more wider positions, perhaps? So playing kind of off the side, cutting inside, possibly. Could we see more of that? But I'm excited for what he could be and what he could bring to us, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Andrew's in there. Is that the team? It is indeed, Andrew. So if you're shocked, then I'm sorry, I don't have better news for you. Paul, is that an unusual one? We got a new subscriber. Shout, Stephen McCulloch apparently has a new sub. So thank you, Stephen, for subscribing to the channel. And that gives me the lovely segue to suggest anyone else that isn't currently subscribed, if you would like to subscribe, then please do. Just hit that wee subscribe button just underneath the video. I promise you won't regret it. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything except for your soul. And as I say, we are here five nights a week at least, or 5 days a week, I should say. sometimes 6 or 7, and with pre and post match content. We're also trialing, if you're on TikTok, then we're trialing doing a bit of a live what's it called, a watch along on TikTok this weekend. So if you're on TikTok and you'd like to hear Tomo and Rebecca speaking rather than the commentary, then you have that opportunity. We're going to be giving that a go today, and potentially, as I say, look to branch out into maybe doing a little bit of that type of thing. So if you're interested in that, then as I say, you can find us on TikTok. I think it's the Rangers Journal 4 on TikTok that you'll find us on. So do give that a watch if you're interested. Thank you, Paul, for that. Next thing I've got here is Cameron out of the squad again. What's your thoughts on that? I'm a big Cameron fan myself. I think he provides a lot of energy. I think he does a lot of, in terms of energy and drive, he brings a lot of similarity to what Barron brings into the midfield. The difference being where Barron brings it, I think he brings it in a more defensive sort of mode, whereas I think Cameron is a little bit more technical, a little bit more attacking. And he is someone that I'd like to see in our midfield. I do think he can provide a lot of energy.
Yeah, I thought he was injured.
Is he?
I thought that he was injured. That was the reason he wasn't about.
He might be.
Yeah, because he would absolutely be in the squad and pushing for a start for me. I think, like I said in one of the other pods, I think he's going to be the player for us who might prove to be the best value from the summer signings this year. I think he looks a great player, and I think he will only get better with us.
He's not marked on Faulkner as being injured, but he might. That doesn't necessarily not make it true, but that's fine. If anyone in the comments has any further info on that, then do give us a shout. David Hamilton is pointing out something I knew to be true before we started. I didn't know whether I'd bring it up or not. Current scores on the doors currently mean we are sitting 11th in the SPL table. Aberdeen play twice in the league before we next play, and so have the opportunity to also leapfrog us, which would put us at the bottom of the league come the start of our next league match. That's a sackable opinion on its own, to be 5 to 6 games into the league as Rangers and sit bottom of the league. So even without playing football, if that situation was to transpire, I mean, how could anyone look at that and not think the manager doesn't need to go?
They shouldn't be able to look at it and think that otherwise. I mean, he should have been gone. He'd been gone after Bruce. Should have definitely been gone over the last 6 days. That's for sure. I think if it could be today, there could be no reason, absolutely none whatsoever, to keep him in a job, especially when you see everything else that's going on around Ibrox today. Protests outside at the front door, a real lack of seats. I've just chosen not to go today. I paid for my ticket, but just went, no, that's my kind of signal of how annoyed I am with all of this and how fed up I've become with it. So yeah, I think you have to sit up and take notes. They could be losing, I don't know, £1 million worth of match day revenue between tickets and all other sales around the stadium today. They wouldn't sit up and take notice of that.
Yep, absolutely. There's a couple of people in the comments saying that they thought he was injured as well, so maybe he is actually out with a bit of a knock. So I'll let Russell Martin off in that instance. Don't let him off on much, but I'll let him off with that. Ramey is coming in going 4-3-3 again. We need 2 strikers. FFS. What's your thoughts on the 2 up top argument?
I think the manager's wedded to 4-3-3, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I think unless he's forced into it mid-game, I just don't see him doing it. He will rotate Miovski and Chermiti around, but I just don't get this feeling he fancies it. Would love to be proven wrong, because I think, especially today, you're up against the back 3, put some pressure on them, put 2 up there to keep them occupied, and don't have them marking one player. That's me. That's easy for them. Just give them something to think about. Put Chermiti up there, have him as a focal point, have Miovski buzzing around him, You get your two wide players, let them go into it. Why not? What? We've got nothing to lose based on everything that's went before it.
Absolutely, I think that's the big thing, and the thing that I've never understood about managers that kind of get so dogmatically wed to their systems. It's what do you have to lose if it's not going right? Change something.
Mhm.
And I mean, it almost doesn't matter what you do. Sometimes just shaking things up can be enough to move the cobwebs through the brain and help you turn a corner. So yeah, that idea that you just dogmatically stick to the same thing over and over and over just has always baffled me.
What if the reason we're not making any chances is because we need a Chermiti type player up there who can act as a target man and actually bring a Majovski playing off him and the wide players into it? Maybe that's the tweak that says, actually, this is what's going to be the creative spark for us.
I mean, I think our biggest problem is the connection between sort of midfield and attack, and getting the ball forward quickly enough as well. Like, we're so slow and lethargic and moving the ball laterally. Like, we've talked about it before. Our lateral passes have gone up through the roof since Russell Martin has come in. Obviously, we make a similar amount of back passes, but it's really sort of the lateral passes and passes across the defence that have shot up. And all you're doing is giving the opposition the time to get back into position, solidify, look around, going, is everyone where they need to be? Are we doing, rather than getting the ball forward quickly, linking up with your attacking players, and also pressing high. Like, we have this high press that seems to, the defense seem high, but the rest of the team don't feel like they're often that high. Like, the midfield seems to drop towards the defense rather than push towards the attack. And I think fair enough, your Raskin character or your Rothwell, whoever you're wanting in your six, they can drop to help link that, because if they drop, make little triangles with the defenders, your wingers can push up a bit, and then they make little triangles with the attackers and the other mids, and then they make your wingers and that have your triangles with your striker. And so you move that all up the pitch to move the ball, and then move the ball quickly, and that helps you to then shuffle the other team around, make them make mistakes, get them to leave gaps where there aren't. The big thing that I was looking forward to that we were meant to see from the Russell Martin system that we've not seen in the slightest was this idea that you do all those things and then you have somebody that breaks their line and makes a move and becomes an extra man, and that's what then makes the opposition defense think twice, is that they're like, oh, there's an extra man here, and either the extra man doesn't get marked and thusly the ball goes to him and they make something happen, or they move to that extra man and that frees up space for someone who's in their natural position to do what they do. But we haven't seen any of that at all, because all we're doing is just knocking the ball about the place, which has been a bit of a non-event. Peter thinks Miovski will win us the game. That would be an absolute. That would be absolutely great. I would like to see him kick off. A lot of people got a lot of faith in Miovski. Were you happy when we signed him?
Yeah, I like Miovski. He's a good player, and if it's not this game, he will win us games this season. I'm certain of that. And at the price we got him as well, you can't argue with a player of Miovski's pedigree in this league and in this country at that price. Great business.
Yep, absolutely. Got a question here from Ryan saying, can see Hibs using Boyle's pace, to get in behind us today. When I first read that, my first thought to myself was, oh, it's Boyle in the team. And so I thought we'd maybe do something that we don't do very often and have a look at the Hibs team as well and see what we are expecting from them. So I've got their starting 11 here. I don't know how familiar you are with Hibs overall as a team. But I mean, I think one of the dangers that I think will come from their fullbacks, particularly Cadden. He pushes up a lot to join into the attack, and so will his brother if he's playing, although his brother appears to be on the bench today. And for me, that's also one of the main points I mentioned in the lowdown is when they do move into their more attacking phase and they have the fullbacks pushing up, there's space behind if you can get that quick transition that we've just been talking about not doing. But if we can do the quick transition, I think you can find that space in behind, and we can get a bit of joy from that. They've also got Mulligan starting. your thoughts on Mulligan? Is he someone you think should be wearing blue right now?
Yeah, I absolutely should have been. They should have been in that. If he isn't in the starting lineup, he should have been on the subs bench instead of Max Aarons. That's simple as that. It was another signing that was sitting right in front of us in this league, and we didn't do it. It's frustrating, immensely frustrating.
Yeah, very much so. Especially watching, he's played pretty well for Hibs as well. So I think I'm the same. He just seemed like an easy signing to make, even if he ends up being a squad player. I think he'd be a good squad player. Paul in the comments as well likes a shot from distance. I love players like a shot from distance because that's another thing we don't do very often. Diomande used to did it for his first couple of months. He would take a couple of pot shots, and he's kind of done it a little bit more recently as well. Unfortunately, they've all been kind of sky balls, but I do want to see us doing that because again, variety makes things more difficult for the opponent. So if you are taking a shot from the edge 1 minute and then a shot from 30 yards the next, and then you're crossing balls and then you're cutting back, you know, you're gonna get a little bit more out of that. I think the big name in the number in their 11, is the number 9, Kieran Bowie. He's a player again. I think a lot of fans are. See, Paul's just reading my mind. He's another player that a lot of Rangers fans I think have been quite keen on the idea of potentially looking at signing. I don't think he was a realistic signing for this window, but he's certainly someone that we could potentially look at in the future should his form continue. He obviously scored that. I mean, it was just an absolute ridiculous worldie in their European game against, was it Warsaw? I think it was. Was it the first leg of Warsaw?
I think so.
It was just an absolutely ridiculous goal. It's Puskas award-winning potential, which is not something you often get to see from Scottish players. I do like him. I think he harries a lot. He's got that kind of energy that Scottish players tend to have. And again, he's someone that, particularly if you're sitting there looking at our strike force, it looks like our third striker's not probably going to get much of a look in moving forward, Danilo. And, if maybe that was Bowie, you'd be sitting there going, wow, we've got 3 strikers that could make differences, that can come on in different games. So again, is he another one that you think would have been interesting to see, or potentially interesting to see in the future? In a blue shirt?
I think interesting in the future. I think what we maybe need to be careful is we don't end up in another Majowski situation where when he goes to leave Hibs, we're priced out of it. We leave it too late or have left it too late. But looks a really interesting player. Looks really good physically, can finish, good energy about the place. So him with Boyle buzzing around him, Hibs are dangerous. Hibs have got some players there. And if you're looking at Cadden and Mulligan on both flanks from that wing back position, that's good energy from them and good, Cadden can put in a set piece, he can put in a cross, he's good with that. And if Bowie's on the end of it, once Suter and Cornelius on the A game today, need to make sure of that.
Absolutely. Got a question from Dex here. So Dex, we must have chat about the demo, trying to find out how big it was. No, we haven't really talked about that just because we've been live. We've not really seen much about it. I can see the Rangers review. Do you have a video of Kavanagh arriving? I can't. It's on mute right now, so I can't tell. I'm pretty certain there's probably a cavernous amount of booze in the background of that video. So that's maybe one to check out for you. I can see a few pictures from Emerson Drive. In fact, I'll see if I can save that and get it up here for us. So it'll give you a bit of an idea of the numbers. But what are you expecting? While I pull that up, what are you expecting from the demo, John? And also, more importantly, do you think it's going to make much of a hit home for the decision makers in charge of the club?
I think it depends on the result today. I think people like Kavanagh and that, they'll sit and say, right, okay, it's a protest, it's not great, but they'll be getting fed from Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell, look, we're in this for the long haul and all that kind of chat. Kavanagh sits there today and things turn really bad. He'll see the empty seats. He's seen the protest. Let's be honest here, if this result goes bad for us, I imagine those people are going to end up at the front door after the game as well, potentially. So it might not just be limited to pre-game. It might be post-game as well. Pictures, I seen a couple of pictures. It looked as if there was a fair few people there. I know some are taken from the front, some are from the back, so you can't really get a full gist of it. But yeah, it's not 5 men and his dog. There's a lot of people there. I guess it's going to be the question of if everybody there just walks straight into their seat, does it have the same impact of, if the Union Bears were at the front door and then didn't go into the ground, what a message that would send. Now, that might be their next step. This is stage one where we say, right, we're at the front door, we're letting you know, we'll go in there, we'll do our job. But the next time, it may be a case that they don't go in. That changes the complexion of it completely because they bring the atmosphere to Ibrox, no matter what anybody says. So I think people will be sitting up and taking note of it. I'll be interested to see what the crowd's like and what the atmosphere is like. Because I think that will either continue this on. If Rangers get an early goal, it'll dive things down potentially. So yeah, be interesting.
Absolutely. I think in particular as well, games like this, that are on the TV, the European games that are obviously broadcast, I think those are the ones that are the ones that will make, those are brand damaging if you've got a half empty stadium and the half amount that are there are all baying for blood. I think those are the kind of things that, as I say, will eventually ultimately make the difference, but we shall see. If you do want to find more sort of about that, I would advise have a wee scroll through Twitter. There's a bunch of photos doing the rounds. There's kind of amusing one of a steward, or what seems to be a steward, from the comment anyway. And he's holding up one of those signs with the Russell Martin and Patrick Stewart with the red bars through them from inside the stadium. So that picture's doing the rounds, and there's a few other photos dotted about as well. If you check out Chris Jack as well, he's put up a video of folk outside the ground, loads of those signs again with the faces marked out. So there's loads of folks sitting there and shouting and whatnot. So there's plenty to see if you do want to get a bit more information about that. But as I say, not great to see, but perhaps necessary given the time. So we'll look to wrap it up there. Before we go, though, we'll get your predictions for the game, John.
I can't see anything other than Hibs win. Wish it wasn't that way, but if it was 2-1 Hibs, wouldn't surprise me.
Yep, I think I'm unfortunately I'm the same. If we play the way we've been playing, then I think Hibs will have more about them. I think they'll want it more. They'll have the drive that we lack. I could easily see them doing 2 or 3 the same way that it looked like Hearts might. Obviously, there were, as we haven't touched on it today. I'm sure we'll probably talk about it in the pods in the coming week. It's come out that everyone agrees that we probably should have had at least a goal, and maybe they shouldn't have had a penalty. But even without that, as I say, I think particularly in a cup game as well, I think Hibs are looking good for it. We need to show more if we're going to get results. So fingers crossed that happens. So I'll just finish off with once again saying, as the gaffer says there, do smash the like button if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not subscribed, then do subscribe. Most of the people that aren't subscribed are Celtic fans, so unless you're a Celtic fan, you need to be hitting that button, because you know that they're the only ones that love watching Rangers content more than Rangers fans do. So if you're not a Celtic fan, smash that like button. Hit subscribe. It really helps us. We're on the push now to 5,000. We hit 4,000 recently, and we want to keep growing, keep providing you with great content. Obviously, the more that people are subbed and watching, the more that we can do stuff to bring you all the best Rangers content we can. If you're at the game, enjoy it as best you can. Get a few boos in there from us, and we'll see you. I'll see you, and I think it's Ryan that's on the post-match with me. So we'll see you then for that. And just a reminder as well, if you're on TikTok, we are doing a live stream there. So if you want to tune in to us on the live stream on TikTok, then you can do that also. Thanks for joining me today, John. You're going to be watching on the TV, I take it?
I am, yeah. So get myself set up here, and hopefully we get the right result.
That's it. Settle in with a wee drink and or 2 or 10 or 12, depending on how it goes. So thanks for watching, guys. Just remember that every night is a Rangers Journal night, and we'll see you after the game. Goodbye.